Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashna Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can understand through your words and your pastimes your love for us and be inspired to offer our love to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for coming today. And today, as was mentioned in the introduction, this is the sacred month of Kartik going on. And we will discuss about the significance of the Lord's pastimes, and then we will discuss about the Damodar Lila in particular. Am I audible to everyone comfortably? So the book that you have, this is one of my latest books. It's called Prayers Inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. Normally, we think of the Bhagavad Gita as a book of maybe a little lower volume, or the echo is.
You are reading this book?
Yeah. So page 154 in this book. So normally the Bhagavad Gita is seen as a book of wisdom. And yes, it is definitely. At the same time, it is Krishna who is speaking the Bhagavad Gita. And when he speaks some words of wisdom, he also wants to inspire and empower us to live according to those words. So if we can take the words of the Gita and see how we can offer prayers based on those words, then it becomes a two-way exchange. Many of the prayers of Kulashekar Maharaj in the Mukundamala Stotra are inspired by the Bhagavad Gita's verses. So Krishna says, Tesham aham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavamina chirat partha Mayaveshita chetasam. So Krishna says, I will become the swift deliverer of all those souls from this ocean of material existence who fix their minds on me. And Kulashekar Maharaj prays, Samsara sagara nimagnam ananta deenam uddharatum arasi hare purushottamosmi. So he says that this ocean of material existence is unsurpassable, O Lord. It behooves you to lift us from this ocean. So why does it behoove you? Because that's what you have promised in your own words in the Bhagavad Gita. So that way, so I'll be using this to write and draw certain things over here. So the idea is that when we are trying to, so from Krishna, can you take out the stylus from that pen? That phone? No, that phone. The phone has a stylus. The pen is there. So if we see, this is Krishna and this is us. So Krishna is giving us the wisdom of the Gita, and taking that wisdom, we can offer prayers to Krishna. Okay, so this projector is there. That's what we are trying to do over here. The Gita verses, and then there are Gita prayers. You come not just to restore order, but also to recover souls. So let's recite this verse. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. So to get a devotional feel of the Gita, that I translate the verses in English poetry. One who knows my birth and deeds divine, in truth beyond just as a story or a sign, shall leaving the body be reborn no more, but come to me forever secure. The tattvataha, not just as a sign or a symbol. It's not just a sign or a story. So I request different participants here to, if you want to read one paragraph. Would anyone like to read the first paragraph?
My
Yes,
dear
please.
Lord,
Okay.
your purpose in coming to this world is far bigger than just to restore order. After all, in this mortal works, order inevitably gives way to disorder sooner or later. That is why you mercifully come again and again to restore order. But your purpose is not limited to simply doing again and again that which will be undone again and again.
Yes. So, broadly, the reason why Krishna descends in this world is described in this Bhagavad Gita from 4.7 till 4.10. So, 4.7 and 4.8 are relatively well-known verses in the broader Hindu community, where Krishna says, Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Says, I come to establish Dharma. So Dharma broadly refers to order. That the world becomes disorderly, and Krishna says, I come to establish order in the world. And that is an important reason. But now, after that, Krishna is given two more, in the next two verses. The first he is talking about Dharma, and then he is talking about Bhakti. The Dharma and Bhakti are not exactly the same thing. Dharma is more a broader order in society. The Kurukshetra war was not fought to make everyone into a devotee. It was not that Krishna said to Duryodhana, if you chant Hare Krishna, I won't fight against you. No, it was not a religious war in that sense. It was a war because the Kauravas were lawbreakers. They were exploiters. They were tyrants. And they had to be stopped. Now, of course, one of the fundamental principles in the Bhagavad Gita is that order, dharma, has to be established. That if you consider law and order, that's not a voluntary thing. That is, everybody has to follow law and order. It's not a matter of choice. If you are going on the road, then we have to follow the rules of road transport. Now, bhakti, on the other hand, it cannot be established. It has to be inspired. So when Krishna comes, he has two purposes. So dharma is established, and again order gives way to disorder. Again order has to be established. Krishna comes again and again. But bhakti, if it is inspired, then the soul becomes attracted to the whole, to the Lord. So let's put it another way. This is the spiritual world, and there's the material world. So at one level, when Krishna descends, one purpose is that here in this world, we should have order. Krishna comes to establish order in this world. And that's important. At the same time, what Krishna also wants is that Krishna creates a pathway from here to return to him. So this is the path of bhakti. So Krishna offers both of these. That while you are in this world, live in as orderly a way as possible. Have a virtuous order in the world. At the same time, the world is temporary. So ultimately, we need to go beyond this world. So that is the path of Dharma and the path of bhakti. So in this particular verse, Krishna is telling who will take up the path of bhakti. That is, in general, the ambit of Dharma will be very broad. So we could put it, these two purposes are related. Another way to understand these purposes is, it's like a funnel. So, on the Dharma side, there are many people who will be following Dharma. On the Bhakti side, there will be a few people. And what is the characteristic of those people? They understand the reason why Krishna appears. Tattvataha. They come and understand Krishna, why he has come over here. So let's look at the next paragraph over here. Who would you like to read, please?
You come to attract us so that we can be united with you for a life of everlasting love and joy in your personal, eternal abode. My dear Lord, I beg you, let me see you not just as the restorer of order, but as the recoverer of hearts.
Yes, the recoverer of hearts. In general, we do need a certain level of fundamental peace and stability in life. But that is not all that we need. We say that if we don't have food, we will not survive. That is true. We need food. Not having food is a state of misery. But is it that all the well-fed people in the world are happy? No, they have their own set of problems. So ultimately, we don't just want the means for living. We want meaning for living. What am I living for in this world? And in many ways, this understanding, there are the means for living. Means is, we need food, we need shelter, we need money. These are the means for living. But then beyond that, there is the meaning for living. So broadly speaking, when there is order in the world, at a basic level, the means are taken care of. But then what is the meaning of life? We live, we build a family, we build a house, we build a career, we build a reputation. And then slowly we start getting old, we start losing everything, and ultimately we lose everything. So what is the meaning of it all? And sometimes it is not even till we grow old we lose everything. We can lose something before that also. There was a Greek philosopher who said that when I am there, death is not there. When death is there, I am not there. Therefore, I will never die. Now, we can do word juggling like that. But actually, we are going to suffer that loss. So, the ultimate purpose of life is that there is another world beyond this world. And that world is an eternal world. So, the meaning of life is to develop love for the eternal. Now, the more we can develop love for the eternal, the more we become situated on the path that will take us to the eternal. So Krishna's purpose is to attract our hearts and to recover our hearts. And to that extent, to that purpose, he comes and displays beautiful pastimes. We'll come back to this point. We'd like to read the next paragraph. Anyone would like to read?
My Lord, if I see you primarily as the destroyer of order, then I will be in constant insecurity and never ever seem to be destroyed. But if I see you as the recoverer of hearts, then I will be able to stay calm
happiness. See, if we think that God and worship of God is to guarantee our well-being at the material level. Now certainly Krishna does that. But if that's our expectation, then our faith will always be very unstable. What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? If that goes wrong, what is happening in my life? So we want order in our life, but beyond that, the deepest or the strongest devotion is established when we understand that the security, the real security is found not in this world, but in Krishna. Bhajahure mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanaravindarhe. And Krishna comes to give us that. See, Krishna can give us material blessings and they are wonderful as long as they are there. But they are not going to be there forever. So Krishna wants to give us the best that is there for us. So like a child may want toys and the parents will give toys to the child if the child is crying. But the purpose of the parents is not just to give the child toys. The purpose of the parents is to educate the child, to prepare the child for life so that the child will have a bright career. The child may just say, oh, I don't have a toy, and child is crying. But the parents have a bigger vision. Like that, Krishna has a bigger vision. So when Krishna descends to the world, his purpose is to attract our hearts. And when we talk about order, there is order in things in this world. That means, okay, the water supply is coming properly, the electricity is there, our salary comes in time. The order is there at the level of things. But more important is order at the level of thoughts. What happens is, paradoxically, as order at the level of things is increasing in the world today, with modernization, with technological advancement, somehow order at the level of thoughts is decreasing. What do we mean by order at the level of thoughts is decreasing? What it means is that things thoughts which are less important, they become more important. And thoughts which are more important, they become less important. That's the idea of there being disorder at the level of thoughts. So somebody is driving a car. They're driving to a crowded road and they have their phone and some message comes on the phone. This happened a few months ago to one promising Indian student in America. He'd come there and while he was in America. So while he's in America, he's driving a car and he was looking at the message on the phone, and somehow at that time he was driving through a school area and a child just ran across the road. He slammed on the brakes, but still he hit the child. And because of the current political situation, they're looking for sending people back to India or back to their native countries. So this was a brilliant boy from IIT, IIM, top career he had. It's a terrible disgrace for him to go back. Now what had happened was, yes, looking at our phone message is important, but focusing on the car and driving the car is even more important. So what happens is that when we use the word anartha, have you heard this word anartha?
Yes.
What does anartha mean?
Unwanted.
Meaningless, unwanted. So actually what is anartha? Anartha is essentially a thought disorder. What do you mean by thought disorder? That, if you see, artha at one level can mean money. Now any artha, if it becomes the paramartha. Paramartha means it becomes the supreme value. So now money is important. Can money bring happiness? Well, yes. Only people who have a lot of money say money can't bring happiness. Isn't it? Money can bring happiness to a particular degree. If somebody is sick and they don't have money to buy medicines for dealing with the sickness, then money can definitely provide the relief. So money is of value, it is artha. But the problem is when an artha is made into paramartha, and something which is of value is meant into the supreme value, that leads to anartha. So, when money becomes the supreme value, what will happen? That leads to greed. We all need respect in life. We need pleasure in our life. But when pleasure becomes the supreme value, that leads to addiction. So, what happens is essentially any artha, when it's taken when they're too important, it becomes anartha. So there is an increasing level of thought disorder in the world today. Thought disorder means what? Small, like I talk about distraction is one thing. So there are so many ways in which small things become more important and big things become less important. And that's how we may get angry over some small thing, and then because of that anger over some small thing, we end up destroying the relationship itself. So for some people, the distance between their brain, distance between their mind and their mouth is zero. What that means is, whatever comes in their mind, it just comes out from their tongue. And they sort of they have to eat their words. Sometimes people get very angry. So what happens when now, if anything becomes supremely important, then that leads to a problem. So what the scriptures tell is, Krishna comes to give us artha, but more importantly, Krishna wants to give us paramartha. That paramartha comes through his revelation of his pastimes, through the examples of his great devotees, through the pastimes. Now, Mother Yashoda, we are celebrating Damodar Lila over here. Mother Yashoda is the mother of Krishna. In the world of Lila, Krishna is the parent of everyone, but Krishna takes on the role of a child. Now, Mother Yashoda, as a mother, wants to maintain order in her home. And her idea is that, okay, if my child is hungry, he can eat food, but he should not be creating disorder. He should not be stealing food from others. So what happens? That when she comes to the Krishna is stealing food, she thinks that maybe, is it that the food I am making is not good enough? Is my butter not good enough? Is that why Krishna is going and stealing butter? So she makes some special efforts. She gets the best cows from all the countless cows that she has. She gets the best milk, and she's personally churning to make butter. And then Krishna comes along. Krishna says, I'm hungry. He comes and pulls at her sari. And Krishna, Mother Yashoda sits down and offers her breast milk to him. And at this age, Krishna can drink normal milk. Krishna drinks breast milk also. And then suddenly what has happened? There's a stove on which the milk is there. She's kept it for heating and she sees it's overflowing. So she immediately puts Krishna aside and runs to get that, to take care of that milk. And now, if you consider little Krishna, he has been drinking milk. So imagine that, say, there's a feast and you have maybe some gulab jamun and you have eaten half of the gulab jamun, closing your eyes and savoring it. And then you open your eyes to take the remaining gulab jamun and the whole plate is gone. Hey, what happened? Who took it away? So, like that, Krishna, what happened? Where did my food go? He becomes angry. And he says, my mother neglected me. He says, I will get butter from elsewhere. So then he starts breaking a pot. He takes some butter which he spills the butter, he takes some of the butter. And now generally, when there is a little mischief done, for a child there's a little fear where mother will get angry. But on the other side, he is also angry. So he in that, sir, he says, okay, I took some butter from here, but I'll go to the other room also. And I know there's butter over there, I'll break the pot over there also. So Krishna goes there, runs over there. Now when he runs, he goes very quietly. But he's a small child, doesn't realize that actually his butter footprints are there everywhere. And then Mother Yashoda, I won't go into the full story, but I want to focus on one particular point over here. So Mother Yashoda, she runs after Krishna. When Krishna sees her, that she's coming, Krishna runs away. And then finally she catches him. So that is the song of Damodar, that Paramrishtam Atyantatato Nitya. Now this point of Krishna running away from Mother Yashoda and Mother Yashoda trying to catch Krishna, finally succeeding catching Krishna. Then she tries to tie him, but she's just not able to tie him. And finally she succeeds in tying him. So for her, at one level she's trying to maintain order at home. And it is Krishna who creates this order at home. And she tries to bring order back. That's her motherly responsibility. It's not that she's angry for anger's sake. No, she feels it's my duty as a mother to maintain order in my home. So Kavi Karnapur explains in Anandam Champu that she's concerned that if Krishna keeps stealing butter, Krishna keeps doing mischief, then he will develop a reputation that he is a thief. And if that becomes his reputation, then who will give their daughter in marriage to him? Now, he's a small child right now, but Mother Yashoda is thinking of that. So she's trying to keep order, but what is happening? Krishna creates this order. But through it all, her heart is completely centered on Krishna. So if you can say Dharma is order and Adharma is disorder. Now there's a moral dimension to it, there's a functional dimension to it, there's a political dimension to it, whatever it is. But the idea is that while we would like to have order in the world, Mother Yashoda, for her, whether it's order or disorder, her heart is centered on Krishna. And initially when she tries to tie Krishna, and she's just not able to tie him. So what happens? Her emotions go through a series. Now, initially, there is anger. Initially, actually, there was annoyance. What is Krishna doing mischief? Then as Krishna keeps running, it goes to anger. But from that anger, then there is amazement. What's happening? How is Krishna not being tied? She gets the rope and the rope turns out to be short. And she gets one more rope and still the rope turns out to be short. And from that amazement, gradually there is appreciation. This Krishna is somehow, there's something special about this Krishna. What is going on over here? Now through all these emotions, she is always absorbed in Krishna. So whether it is annoyance or anger, she is Krishna centered. And as a mother, when she tries to bring order back, she tries to tie Krishna, she tries and tries and tries, but she's not able to succeed. And finally, she succeeds. So what is happening over there? It is the Acharyas explain that initially there are 2 fingers short. So those 2 fingers, what do they represent? That God has given all of us free will. See, we want to, whatever it's, if we are parents, we're taking care of our children, we are trying to do some service for Krishna, we have a job, we are doing some volunteer work. Whatever it is that we are trying to do, now, whenever we, see, if I am here, and this is something which I want to achieve. So what happens is that our human endeavor, our effort, it has a particular capacity. But beyond the effort, there is things which are uncontrollable. We don't know what they are. So right now, I am speaking. So I have come here from India to share some spiritual wisdom. And I'm speaking, So I am making some effort. I have some thoughts. I've organized some thoughts. But then, how much are these thoughts going to be clear to the audience? How much are they going to understand and inspire the audience? That is something which I cannot control. As parents, we may try to explain some things to our children. Now, we do our best, but how much they will understand, how much they will accept, how much they will apply, we can't control that. In every area where we work in, there are some things in our control and some things beyond our control. Now, sometimes this is, we could say, the effort is controllable. The beyond that, we can call it as destiny, divine will, whatever word we use, that is the uncontrollable. Now, sometimes the areas might be that, it could be this combination could be that the controllable is 100 and the uncontrollable could be 0. So everything is in our control. It can seem like this. So right now I'm writing, and whatever I'm writing is coming over there. But before that, I was trying to set up the projector was not getting set up. And it was wondering whether it will work or not. So sometimes it may be that the controllable is 50, the uncontrollable is 50. Sometimes it could be the controllable is 0, the uncontrollable is 100. Say if somebody is sick and they're sick with a disease which there's no treatment for, then what happens is there's no control. But so the idea is there's always this dynamic of the controllable and the uncontrollable. There is what is within our efforts and what is beyond our efforts. And sometimes, now we can, and last point I'll conclude with here. See, Mother Yashoda, she kept making her efforts to try to do her duty, to restrain Krishna, to discipline Krishna for his own good. She was trying and trying, she didn't succeed, and she had no idea when she would succeed. She kept trying, and eventually she succeeded in tying. So like that, for all of us, when we try to function in life, we don't normally directly think about God. Most people just go through their life, and for them God is largely a non-entity. Maybe God exists, maybe God doesn't exist. What difference does it make? When I was introduced to Bhakti about 30 years ago, I started talking about it to all my friends and relatives. So one of my uncles told me, God, I have a very good relationship with God. I had never seen him go to a temple, I had never seen him do anything spiritual or talk or read any philosophical books. I said, what do you mean good relationship with God? He said, mutual non-interference. I am happy here, God is happy there. So for many people, God seems to be irrelevant. But the idea is that for all of us, there are things which are uncontrollable. And sometimes what is uncontrollable will work our way, and sometimes it will work against us. So when we are focusing in life, we can go to two extremes, that everything is or should be in my control. Is controllable. When we have this is where a person gets a lot of ego. And then ego naturally leads to anger. Because when we are not able to control, we'll get angry. But the other extreme is nothing is controllable. Now this is also not true, because we are parts of God. Krishna is the supreme controller and we are parts. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke. Because we are Amsha of Krishna, so we do have some control. When nothing is controllable, then what happens? This is where we become hopeless. We feel helpless, we feel hopeless, and this is where quite often depression, apathy, and even suicidal tendencies start coming up. So now, in between is that there are some things are controllable, is what we can control and what we can't control. So this is always a delicate balance, a delicate and a dynamic balance. And the idea of learning scripture is that rather than simply thinking that there are some things I can control and some things I can't control, rather it is through what I can control and through what I can't control. Through both of this, I can connect with Krishna. So where I can control, I do service. Where I cannot control, I surrender. So in this way, for us, when we take responsibility to do what we can and what is not in our control, we accept that in the mood of surrender. So that way, if we can be Krishna conscious in both situations. Krishna, you have given me this opportunity, you have given me this facility, you have given me this responsibility, I'll do it as well as I can. And when, despite our best effort, things are not working, instead of getting disheartened, instead of getting enraged, we say, okay, Krishna, this is not in my control, but still, my life is for your service. You are my Lord and I am your servant. So, whatever way I can, I will keep serving you. I try to have outer order so that it can be a service to you, but if the outer order is not possible, I will maintain the inner order. So Krishna wants to restore order in the world, and Krishna wants to use us as instruments for restoring order in the world. But if that doesn't happen, then Krishna, for him, more important is to recover our hearts. So for us, both through can control and can't control, through both of these, we remain Krishna conscious. And Yashoda Mai, when she was able to control Krishna, when she was not able to control Krishna. She was able to tie Krishna, she was not able to tie Krishna. She was always Krishna conscious. She never gave up her awareness, her remembrance, her consciousness of Krishna. And that is, in order and in disorder, we try to always remember Krishna. We try to keep going towards Krishna. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. I discussed broadly 3 points. Our theme was broadly appreciating Krishna's descent and pastimes. When Krishna descends, why does he descend? So we discussed 2 levels of purpose first. Krishna comes for establishing Dharma, and Krishna comes for inspiring bhakti. We talk about this as a Dharma is to be established. That is not voluntary. That is mandatory. Everybody has to do it. But bhakti is to be inspired. The idea is Krishna has these 2 purposes when we are in this world. That one is Krishna wants there to be order in the world, but Krishna also wants that there be a path from this world to him. So this is bhakti and dharma. Krishna wants both, and when we are looking at this, the purpose of Krishna's descent, now we can talk about the purpose of, there are 2 purposes, but from Krishna's purpose perspective, what is the priority for Krishna? The priority is that ultimately we talk about that artha is important, but paramartha is even more important. Artha is things of value, paramartha is things of supreme value. So artha is important, paramartha is supremely important. Like for a child, toy is important. For the parents also, toys are important. Today is Halloween, so we can treat, we give sweets and things like that. That's important for child. But that's not the most important thing. Isn't it? So for Krishna, Krishna wants to give us artha. But for Krishna, paramartha is more important, most important. So artha is basically, you could say, order in this world. Order in things. But paramartha is that it's order in thoughts. That in our conception, in our thoughts, what is most important is given the most attention. And then we discuss what is anartha. When thought disorder is there, when artha becomes the paramartha. When something which is of value becomes the supreme value, that's what leads to anartha. So we discussed 3-4 examples of this. How money, if it becomes the supreme value, which is the anartha that comes? Greed, yes. Now we all want respect. Nobody likes to be disrespected. But if respect becomes the supreme value, what happens? Ego, arrogance, pride comes up. We all want control in life. But if control becomes the supreme, what happens? Anger comes up. Now we all want pleasure in life. But if pleasure becomes the sole basis for all decision making, then what happens? Addiction comes up. So, in this way, this anartha that is happening, Krishna wants to set it, wants to correct it. So then finally, we discussed the perspective. At how should we look at life? That when Mother Yashoda, she was trying to control Krishna, but for Krishna's sake. And she was, for a long time, in this pastime, she was running after Krishna, she was trying to try Krishna, she was not succeeding. But eventually she succeeded. So we discussed that when we want to success in any endeavor, there is a part of that is, it's controllable for us, that's our effort. And then there is the uncontrollable. That is destiny, that is Krishna's plan. So what we try to understand is that is uncontrollable. That is Krishna's part, Krishna's plan. So in our life, sometimes this controllable might be 50, uncontrollable might be 50. Controllable might be 100, uncontrollable might be 0. Controllable might be 0, uncontrollable might be 100. But broadly, it's a pendulum in which both are there. It's that if you think everything is controllable, if you think I have all control, that will not work. If I think I have no control, that will also not work. What we do is, where we have control, we do service, we take up responsibility. Where we don't have control, we surrender. Except Krishna, that I am yours, whether there is order in my life or not, I'll always be serving you. When we have this attitude, then our heart will keep moving towards Krishna through whatever happens in our life. And that is the prayer, that Krishna comes not just to restore order, Krishna comes to recover souls. Let's conclude by reading the starting prayer once again. You can repeat after me if you like. My dear Lord, you come not just to restore order, but also to recover souls. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Guruji, thank you very much. So you said that things that are in our control, we should do service, and then when we know that things get out of our control, then we surrender. Thank you. So my question is, when do we know that now is the point we have to surrender? Like sometimes people say that you have to keep on trying, then God will help you out. Sometimes they say that if it's not working out, then it's not working out. How do we know that? What point do we surrender? What point do we stop trying ourselves?
We never stop trying. Is that mine or yours? Okay. See, we never stop trying per se. But we may decide that to stop trying in a particular area. The example is that the standard example, the scripture is when a river is going towards the ocean. Now the river is firm in its intention of going towards the ocean. But the river is also flexible about the path it takes towards the ocean. That sometimes the straight path may be blocked and the river may try to push and push and push and push. It doesn't work. Then it doesn't stagnate. Okay, it will go left, it will go right, it will go below, it will go above. It will find some way to. So like that, for all of us, it is not that we ever stop trying. But in a particular area, in a particular endeavor, we may decide this is not going to work. So the idea is the river is fixed in purpose. But the river is also flexible in path. So for us, same principle is that for us, when we all want to do something of value in our life. Now we have certain roles, we have certain responsibilities through which we can do some things of value. But at the same time, not in all of our roles or in all of our responsibilities or in all of our services, you can say, we are going to be necessarily equally successful. So Srila Prabhupada was trying to share Krishna Bhakti in India. He tried it for 30, 40 years. And it is not successful. Prabhupada, I am going to serve Krishna. It's not going to happen in India. I'll come to America. So the Ganga has to keep moving toward the ocean. But which way to move toward the ocean? So now, at what point did Prabhupada decide, okay, India is not happening now, let me go to America? Now, Prabhupada always wanted to share Krishna Bhakti in the West, because that's what his spiritual master had told him. But his plan was, let me do some outreach in India, let me get some foundation over here, let me get some resources over here. And then with those resources, I'll go to the West. That's what his spiritual master had done when he had sent his disciples to the West. So, but that didn't work out for him. Now, in general, there are two main factors. So, when does a river, for example, decide, enough pushing over here, let me look for some other way ahead? So, broadly speaking, we have to look at two things, our talent and our environment. Now, this is a whole different subject. In general, for success, Krishna talks about that. Bit far, okay. Thank you. So, were all of you peacefully not hearing behind? You'll be disturbed by hearing now. Okay. Thank you for disturbing me, Prabhu. So, generally speaking, for us to succeed in anything in life, this is based on 18.14 in the Bhagavad Gita. I remember that. There is, I call it the acronym TECH: talent, environment, and commitment. We need three things for succeeding in any area. So if somebody somebody wants to garden, like if they want to garden, first of all you have to have the seeds. If you don't have the right seeds, no matter how much gardening you do, it's not going to work. Then we have to have the good soil. We have to have, the climate has to be good. And then sometimes there's trial and error. We put too much water. We may not put a fence. We may not put the right fertilizer, whatever. So we have to keep trying. Now, keeping trying is if there's a gold mine, you want to dig for gold. First of all, there has to be gold. Secondly, we should have the tools to dig. And third is we have to keep digging. So basically, the talent is like the tools, having the gold is like the environment, and keep digging is the commitment. So in general, commitment is important. But commitment alone is not going to create the talent, and commitment alone is not going to create the environment. So how much should we keep pushing on? That how much? So all three factors are important. So if somebody in a particular field just does not have the talent, we have to be honest about that. Anybody can say that I can develop the talent, and we all can develop talent to some degree. But there are limits to how much talent can be developed. If we consider the Pandavas, right from their childhood, they had particular talents. Bhima was physically very well built. Bhima was also a good archer. But he never tried to become an archer like Arjuna. Arjuna's talent was just superlative. There's no comparison. Now Arjuna did not develop an insecurity complex thinking that Bhima is so physically strong. How much exercise do I have to become too strong like him? No matter how much exercise he would have done, he would never have become as physically robust, physically well built as Bhima was. So we have to see what is the talent that I have. And sometimes we may have some talents, but particular talents, they also need certain environments. So we have to have commitment for succeeding for achieving any worthwhile success in life. But how much should we keep pushing on? look at how supportive the environment is, and look at how much do I have the talent. And based on that, we may decide, okay, in this particular place things may not work. In this particular area, the service may not work. So let me try that particular area. Does it answer the question?
It does, yes.
Thank you. Any one last question? Okay, this Mataji.
Actually, in relation to the question Mataji just asked,
Okay, that's
where is the role of descending mercy in Parampara? So we're surrendering. So we're surrendering to our disciplic succession. So we don't always have any of those things enough of talent or environment or commitment. But we, in surrender, we are protected by our higher authorities. So Srila Prabhupada went from India to the West. That was on the order of his spiritual master, which actually empowered him and gave him the facilities for everything to happen. So, with the order of the spiritual master comes the ability to do the necessary. So it's really interesting. I mean, this is really wonderful. And in Yashoda Mai, who was her spiritual master guiding her to get the order that she wanted in her home?
Okay.
Was that also Krishna?
Good question. Yes.
Thank
Now,
you.
See, where is the element of descending mercy? Generally, while Krishna can act in supernatural ways also, like Krishna lifted Govardhan hill, like our Hanuman jumped across the ocean to go to Lanka. Krishna can empower his devotees also to act in supernatural ways. But most of the times, Krishna acts through nature. Krishna acts through the systems of nature rather than by suspending the systems of nature. So when rather than by suspending or overturning the systems of nature. So what I mean by that is that Krishna lifted to Govardhan hill, and Krishna protected Draupadi when she was being dishonored. But that did not mean the Pandavas thought that Krishna will protect us in the war also. So no, the Pandavas formed alliances. The Pandavas, Arjuna got celestial weapons. Bhima practiced to become a even better mace fighter. So Krishna did protect in a supernatural way. But most of the times, Krishna acts through the natural. So what I mean by that is that sometimes Krishna may give us the talent. Sometimes Krishna may create the environment. Sometimes Krishna may inspire us with the commitment. Because how long can we push on? So generally Krishna acts through nature itself. Sometimes Krishna can act beyond nature. Now if you consider Prabhupada's example, his spiritual master gave him a broad instruction, go to the West. He did not tell him to go to America. America became especially powerful after the Second World War. Prabhupada Bhakti Thakur's disciples, they had come here primarily to UK. Because before the Second World War, UK was the main power. From the First World War, the shift started happening. But so Prabhupada used his intelligence. If I am going to the West, which will be the most influential place? He decided to go to America. So, along with the instruction comes the empowerment. We could say that. But that doesn't mean that the individual should not use their intelligence. We also have to use our intelligence, and we see that intelligence also is coming as a gift from the Lord. So, there is always this the human agency and the divine both work together. Like we say, Prabhupada's books are written by Krishna. Prabhupada said, Krishna dictated the words to me. But then, when we say that those books are written by Krishna, are we saying that they are not written by Prabhupada? If the books are literally written by Krishna, then why did Prabhupada put his name as the author? Why did Prabhupada not put Krishna as the author? Isn't it? So there's a human divine, there's always a combination. So that human can become an instrument for the divine, but when that happens, most of the times, it happens through natural means. So Krishna can create the talent, Krishna can create the environment, Krishna can create the commitment. And for devotees like Yashoda Mai, she's at a level where she has a direct relationship with Krishna. Prabhupada says the Guru does not come between the disciple and Krishna. Guru is a transparent via media. So the idea is, the purpose of the Guru is not to forever be between the devotee and Krishna. The purpose of the Guru is to remove what is between the devotee and Krishna. And each one of us has a personal relationship with Krishna. So in the spiritual world, Yashoda Mai has a personal relationship with Krishna. In the spiritual world, each one of us has a personal relationship with Krishna. Okay? Thank you. There's a question. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the nice class, Prabhu. I almost reminded going back to the school concept. I think beautiful sketches, explaining the scriptures in the sketches. I never had this experience before. This was really wonderful because picture can create a longer than 1,000 words impact. Yeah, that's really nice. I just wanted to understand one point where you said pleasure becomes addiction. So is there a positive pleasure and a negative pleasure? Because if I look at the concept of the funnel, one is the spiritual world, one is the material world. So all these equations change based on what world you are referring to. And in the spiritual, when we have pleasure of Krishna, then that is a positive addiction. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, good point. So now when I said pleasure, it can become an addiction. The point is when pleasure becomes the sole driving and deciding purpose for someone, then it can become disruptive and destructive. So an addict, if somebody is an alcoholic, there was one devotee from Russia showed me an ad, long time ago. It was an ad for vodka. It was an ad for, not for vodka, it was an ad for creating awareness about addiction. So there was a Russian family and they're sitting and they are watching TV, and on TV news comes that the price of vodka has shot up, and the man of the house is drinking some vodka, and his small child, his son, is asking very timidly, "Dad, will you drink less now?" And the father replies, "No, you will eat less now." So what has happened is that the craving for pleasure has become so much that you'll start your own child for that. That's an addiction. Like one desire becomes, pleasure becomes too much. The desire for pleasure becomes too much. Now in the spiritual domain, attraction to Krishna is always all auspicious. So there can never be too much of attraction to Krishna. However, that attraction has to be translated into appropriate action. Sometimes we think spiritual world is a place of happiness. Well, yes, but the spiritual world is primarily a place of love for Krishna. And in love, there is a whole array of emotions. And love is not just about happiness. When there is love, there is excitement, there is anxiety, there is anticipation, there is fear. So, for the Brajavasis, is it all pleasure? Well, yes, there is of course pleasure that they are with Krishna. But when the demons come and attack, there is great anxiety. So the idea is we want a real relationship with God. And relationship means that we could say that in any relationship, there are many emotions. We could say, if we love someone, we could say pleasure, joy is a prominent emotion within that. But along with that, there can be anxiety. And now, the difference between that anxiety and this anxiety in the world is that often here, the anxiety we have takes us away from Krishna. Because in the anxiety, we are trying to become controllers and we are displacing Krishna as the supreme controller. There, the anxiety is because they want to serve Krishna better. So there are many rasas. There are 5 primary rasas: Sakhya, Dasya, Vatsalya. But then there are 7 secondary rasas. In that there is bibhatsa, there is bhayanaka, there is fear, there is horror. There are what we might call as negative emotions are also there. Because they all flavor the relationship with Krishna. So there could be suspense. Now there could be that when Krishna and Radha want to meet, then there are some Brajavasis who obstruct them for various reasons. And will they be able to meet? Will they not be able to meet? There's some anxiety over there. That increases that creates some excitement. So even while we are serving Krishna, we shouldn't be too pleasure-centered. We can be remembrance-centered. Krishna, I want to remember you, I want to love you. But in doing that, sometimes we have to take anxiety for Krishna also. If you are going to organize a big Janmashtami festival, so eventually when the festival goes off wonderfully and we have darshan of Krishna, we have kirtan of Krishna, that will be very fulfilling, very enriching. Before that, arranging for the prasad, doing crowd control, taking care of various logistics, it may not seem exactly to be pleasure. So too much pleasure, seeking too much pleasure in Krishna consciousness can also divert us away from Krishna consciousness. So there cannot be too much of Krishna consciousness, but if there is really Krishna consciousness, then only appropriately it will be expressed. That sometimes for your sake, Krishna, I will also accept anxiety. Does that answer your question? Thank you very much. So, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki.